this is going to be part two of our Woody Allen class, and I can't promise that I'm not going to be mentioning him later on because just his output is tremendous, you know. But before we go into music, I kind of thought well, maybe I'll give you an idea of what his comedy's like. I'm going to show you the opening to his Academy Award-winning film Annie Hall, and pretty crazy how it opens like this for back then in 1977 because it's so direct to the audience and so kind of in your face and stream of consciousness, and he kind of just lets everything out. So let's watch the opening to Annie Hall right now.
There's an old joke. Two elderly women are at a Catskill Mountain resort, and one of them says, "Boy, the food at this place is really terrible." The other one says, "Yeah, I know, and such small portions." Well, that's essentially how I feel about life. Full of loneliness and misery and suffering and unhappiness, and it's all over much too quickly. The other important joke for me is one that's usually attributed to Groucho Marx, but I think it appears originally in Freud's Wit and its relation to the unconscious. And it goes like this, I'm paraphrasing. I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member. That's the key joke of my adult life in terms of my relationships with women. You know, lately the strangest things have been going through my mind because I turned 40. And I guess I'm going through a life crisis or something. I don't know. And I'm not worried about aging. I'm not one of those characters, you know. Although I'm balding slightly on top. That's about the worst you can say about me. I think I'm going to get better as I get older. You know, I think I'm going to be the balding virile type, you know, as opposed to, say, the distinguished gray, for instance, you know. Unless I'm neither of those two. Unless I'm one of those guys with saliva dribbling out of his mouth who wanders into a cafeteria with a shopping bag screaming about socialism. Annie and I broke up, and I still can't get my mind around that. You know, I keep sifting the pieces of the relationship through my mind and examining my life and trying to figure out where did the screw-up come, you know? And a year ago, we were in love, you know, and I just, and it's funny, I'm not a morose type. I'm not a depressive character. You know, I was a reasonably happy kid, I guess. I was brought up in Brooklyn during World War II.
So just from that opening scene of Annie Hall, you can see how funny he is. You can see how his punchlines are very staccato. They're short. And he also plays jazz clarinet very well, Dixieland jazz clarinet. So you can see how comedians and musicians can be alike, how they sound alike, how they have their phrasing alike. So that's kind of just a side note. So let's watch some other scenes with some great music in it. Oh, I forgot to tell you. So we're going to watch a movie he did called Take the Money and Run. Now, first I'm going to play you the scene without the music, because when he was working with his editor, Ralph Rosenblum, he didn't know really how to make it funny. And Ralph, his editor, recommended putting in some music. But let's watch it first without the music, and let's just see. It's still a funny scene. You'll probably still laugh, but let's watch it first without the music, and then we're going to watch it with the music. So I just put some city sounds underneath just to take out the music. So now let's listen to it with the music. So much better, right? I mean, it's like a world of difference. So I showed you that scene for an important reason, because this was the beginning of Woody getting into filmmaking. And this was where he took his advice from his editor, Ralph Rosenbaum. And his editor said, if you put this music to it, the scene's going to be even more funny. It's going to be hilarious. And this was a big turning point of Woody, where he started to use music more in his films, either as a way to create more romance, to create funnier jokes, just as a way to enhance the movies so much. So I think we have time for one more, and then, then we'll call it a day. All right? Thanks for watching.
The scene is Rockaway. The time is my childhood. It's my old neighborhood, and forgive me if I tend to romanticize the past. I mean, it wasn't always as stormy and rain-swept as this, but I remember it that way because that was it at its most beautiful. In those days, the radio was constantly playing at our house. My mother, for instance, never missed her favorite show, Breakfast with Irene and Roger.